There exists a certain sanctity in the hours that most deem ungodly. Between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., the world lies still, wrapped in a quiet unlike any other. It is a time neither holy night nor fully dawn, a threshold moment where distractions sleep and truths whisper. If you find yourself awake during these hours, consider it not an inconvenience but an invitation. Listen to the silence. Begin by resisting the urge to fill the quiet with noise. Do not reach for a screen or fret over the day yet to begin. Instead, listen not to the external world, but to the inner stirrings of your soul. What rises unbidden in the silence? Is it a thought, a memory, or a gentle prompting? These moments, unclouded by the day's chatter, often hold answers that elude us in busier hours. Speak to eternity. There is no better time than now for prayer or meditation. In these hours, when the veil between the mundane and the eternal feels thin, lift your heart in gratitude, petition, or reflection. Speak to the divine, or sit in stillness and let the divine speak to you. These practices not only ease the unease of wakefulness, but also strengthen the unseen bonds that anchor us through life's tempests. Create or contemplate. Take pen to paper and let your thoughts find shape. Write what comes, be it gratitude for the day past, plans for the day ahead, or musings unformed. This practice need not be profound, its power lies in its consistency. Should inspiration fail, read. Choose words that elevate, stories that awaken wonder, or wisdom that offers guidance. In doing these things, you transform a restless moment into a sacred one. You reclaim an hour not as a thief of sleep, but as a gift of time. When next you find yourself awake in these quiet hours, resist the temptation to dismiss it as mere chance. Instead, embrace the stillness, for it may hold the seeds of your next revelation. The hours between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. possess a unique quality that sets them apart from the rest of the day. They are a threshold, a liminal space where time feels both suspended and infinite. The world lies still, shrouded in quietude, and this stillness has a profound effect on the human mind and spirit. It is as though the external silence creates room for the internal voice to emerge, unburdened by the cacophony of daily life. This is why these early hours are often associated with heightened intuition, clarity of thought, and a sense of connection to something greater than oneself. In the absence of distractions, the mind enters a state of receptivity. During the day, the senses are constantly bombarded with stimuli, pulling attention in countless directions. This fragmentation makes it difficult to focus deeply or reflect meaningfully. However, in the stillness of the early morning, the mind finds space to breathe. Thoughts flow more naturally, unimpeded by the demands of work, conversation, or noise. Many people report that ideas come to them effortlessly during these hours, as if the quiet itself is a muse whispering creative insights and profound truths. The stillness of this time is not merely physical but also energetic. Across cultures and spiritual traditions, the hours before dawn have been regarded as sacred. In yogic philosophy, this period is known as the Brahma Muhurta, or the time of the Creator, a phase considered ideal for meditation, prayer, and self-reflection. The energy of the world during these hours is said to be sattvic, pure, peaceful, and conducive to spiritual awakening. This is not merely a mystical notion. The physiological state of the body during these hours supports such claims. The brain's production of melatonin, which regulates sleep, peaks in darkness and begins to taper off as the first light of dawn approaches. This natural rhythm leaves the mind in a delicate balance, calm enough to focus inward yet alert enough to engage in meaningful thought. The early hours also provide an unparalleled opportunity for connection not only with oneself but with the broader world. When the usual hustle and bustle of life is absent, the interconnectedness of all things becomes more apparent. The rustling of leaves, the distant sound of birds stirring, even the rhythm of one's own breath, all seem to weave together into a larger symphony. For those awake at this time, there is a chance to feel part of this harmony, to sense a unity that often escapes notice amid the noise of the day. For many, these hours offer a rare chance to engage with their deeper selves. During the day, we are often preoccupied with roles, responsibilities, and expectations. These external demands can drown out the quieter truths of our inner lives. But in the solitude of the early morning, we are freed from these constraints. This is a time when fears, hopes, and aspirations can rise to the surface, unfiltered and unjudged. It is a space for honest reflection, where one can ask questions like, am I living in alignment with my values? Or what truly matters to me? Such inquiries, though simple, can have profound implications for how one navigates the rest of the day. Interestingly, this time also seems to transcend the ordinary boundaries of time itself. Minutes feel longer, almost elastic, allowing for a depth of engagement that feels impossible later in the day. A mere 20 minutes of reflection during these hours can feel as fulfilling as an hour spent in the same practice at another time. This phenomenon may be attributed to the absence of interruptions. Without the usual pressures to move on to the next task or attend to external obligations, one can fully immerse themselves in the present moment. The stillness of these hours fosters a sense of readiness and preparation. For those who use this time wisely, the day ahead feels less daunting. Tasks that might otherwise seem overwhelming can be approached with clarity and calm. This is because the quiet of the morning creates space for planning and prioritization, allowing one to step into the day with a sense of purpose. Listening to the inner voice. In the stillness of the early morning hours, between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., there exists an extraordinary opportunity to connect with the quiet wisdom of the inner voice. This voice, often drowned out by the demands of daily life, becomes audible in the absence of noise and distraction. Listening to it is not merely an act of hearing, it is an act of profound attentiveness, requiring a deliberate choice to engage with the whispers of the mind and soul. The inner voice is not loud or forceful, it is subtle, almost hesitant, as though waiting for acknowledgement. It is often easiest to hear in moments of silence when the world outside is at rest. During the day, the mind is preoccupied with external stimuli, emails, conversations, deadlines, and the relentless pace of modern life. These distractions pull attention outward, leaving little room for introspection. However, in the pre-dawn hours, the external world recedes, and the internal world takes center stage. This shift allows thoughts, feelings, and intuitions that are typically overlooked to surface with clarity and prominence. Listening to the inner voice begins with creating space for it. It requires resisting the urge to immediately fill the silence with activity or entertainment. The modern reflex to check a phone, turn on the television, or scroll through social media upon waking can stifle this delicate moment. Instead, one must pause and embrace the quiet. This may feel unnatural at first, particularly in a culture that prizes productivity and constant engagement. But the act of simply sitting in stillness, without judgment or expectation, opens the door for the inner voice to emerge. This voice often speaks in ways that are deeply personal and meaningful. It may present itself as a sudden realization, a persistent thought, or an inexplicable feeling. For some, it might take the form of memories that demand attention or questions that need answering. These moments of insight are not random, they are the mind's way of highlighting what is most significant, what requires consideration or action. The inner voice often knows what we truly need, even when our conscious minds do not. Importantly, listening to the inner voice involves not just hearing but also understanding and accepting what it has to say. This can be challenging, as the truths it reveals are not always comfortable. It might point out areas of life where change is needed, relationships that require attention, or habits that no longer serve us. These revelations can be unsettling, yet they are necessary for growth. Ignoring them may provide temporary relief, but often leads to a sense of unease or dissatisfaction over time. The process of tuning into the inner voice is deeply connected to self-awareness. When we listen attentively, we begin to recognize patterns in our thoughts and emotions. We may notice recurring fears or desires, identify sources of stress, or uncover aspirations that have been buried beneath the weight of daily responsibilities. This heightened awareness allows us to engage with our inner world more consciously and, ultimately, to make choices that align more closely with our true selves. One way to deepen this practice is through journaling. Writing down thoughts and feelings as they arise can provide a tangible outlet for the inner voice. The act of putting pen to paper or fingers to keyboard helps to clarify and organize thoughts, making them easier to understand. It also creates a record that can be revisited, offering insights into how one's inner world evolves over time. For some, the process of journaling feels like a conversation with oneself, a dialogue that fosters understanding, acceptance, and growth. Another powerful method is meditation. By sitting quietly and focusing on the breath or a mantra, one can create a space for the inner voice to be heard. Meditation is not about silencing the mind, but about observing it without judgment. In this state of mindfulness, thoughts and feelings can arise naturally, free from the filters and defenses that often distort them during waking hours. Listening to the inner voice also involves cultivating trust in it. This trust is not blind or naive, it is a recognition that the inner voice, though quiet, often reflects a deeper wisdom. While it is essential to balance intuition with reason, dismissing the inner voice entirely can lead to missed opportunities for self-discovery and transformation. Trusting this voice means honoring its insights, even when they challenge the status quo or push us out of our comfort zones. The practice of listening to the inner voice is a form of self-care. It is a reminder that beneath the noise of the world lies a reservoir of wisdom waiting to be tapped. The early hours of the morning, with their unparalleled quiet and stillness, provide an ideal setting for this practice. By tuning into the inner voice during these moments, we can gain clarity, align with our true selves, and navigate the day and life itself with greater intention and purpose. Engaging in deliberate prayer or meditation. The hours between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. hold a mystical quality that invites a deep connection with the self and the divine. During this quiet time when the world is still, the mind and spirit are especially receptive to practices of prayer or meditation. These practices, deliberate and intentional, offer a profound way to center oneself, access inner peace, and align with higher purposes. Prayer, in its simplest form, is the act of communicating with the divine. It does not require elaborate rituals or specific words, but calls for sincerity of heart and clarity of intent. During these early hours, prayer takes on a special potency. The external silence mirrors an internal quietude, creating an atmosphere where thoughts and emotions can flow freely toward the divine. In this state, one might offer gratitude for blessings received, seek guidance for challenges ahead, or simply express a desire for connection and understanding. The act of verbalizing or silently formulating these thoughts reinforces a sense of purpose and humility, grounding one in the knowledge that life is part of a larger, interconnected whole. For those who approach prayer as a spiritual discipline, The pre-dawn hours are considered sacred. Across various traditions, this time is thought to be when the veil between the earthly and the spiritual is thinnest. In Christianity, for instance, these hours have historically been associated with the practice of vigils or watchful prayer, emphasizing readiness and devotion. Similarly, in Islam, the practice of tahajjud, an optional pre-dawn prayer, is considered a time for sincere supplication and personal reflection. These traditions highlight the universal recognition of this time as one of heightened spiritual energy. Meditation, on the other hand, is a practice of turning inward, cultivating awareness, and fostering a deep sense of presence. Unlike prayer, which often involves reaching outward to the divine, meditation focuses on the inner landscape, and during the early hours, the mind is naturally inclined towards stillness, making it an ideal time for meditation. The absence of external distractions allows practitioners to enter a state of deep focus, where they can observe their thoughts, sensations, and emotions without judgment. There are many approaches to meditation, each offering unique benefits. Mindfulness meditation, for example, emphasizes staying present in the moment, often through the simple act of observing the breath. In the quiet of the early morning, the rhythmic in and out of breathing becomes a calming anchor, pulling attention away from worries about the past or future. This practice not only cultivates a sense of peace, but also enhances clarity, preparing the mind for the tasks and challenges of the day ahead. Another form of meditation well suited to these hours is loving kindness meditation. This practice involves directing thoughts of compassion and goodwill toward oneself and others. In the stillness of the early morning, when emotions are unguarded and genuine, it becomes easier to access feelings of empathy and connection. Starting the day with such intentions can create a ripple effect, influencing interactions and decisions throughout the day. For those seeking a deeper spiritual connection, transcendental or mantra-based meditation can be particularly powerful during these hours. These practices involve focusing on a specific word, phrase, or sound, often chosen for its personal or spiritual significance. Repeating the mantra in the early morning quiet allows it to resonate deeply, creating a sense of unity between the practitioner and the broader cosmos. Combining prayer and meditation can also be a transformative practice. One might begin with prayer, expressing thoughts and emotions outwardly, and then transition into meditation, allowing space for introspection and listening. This combination creates a dialogue between the self and the divine, fostering a sense of balance and harmony. Beyond the spiritual and emotional benefits, engaging in prayer or meditation during the early hours also has measurable physiological effects. Research has shown that these practices can reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and improve overall mental health. The body's natural state during these hours, relaxed but alert, enhances the effectiveness of such practices. Engaging in deliberate prayer or meditation can help regulate the nervous system, promoting a sense of calm and focus that lasts throughout the day. The early morning also allows for a deeper commitment to these practices without the interruptions and time constraints that often arise later. This undisturbed time can foster consistency, transforming prayer or meditation from an occasional activity into a cherished daily ritual. Over time, this regularity cultivates resilience and strength, helping individuals navigate life's complexities with grace and confidence. Engaging in deliberate prayer or meditation during these hours is not merely an act of discipline, but an act of self-care. It is a time to recalibrate, to tune in to the inner self, and to align with values and aspirations. Whether through the sacred words of prayer or the silent stillness of meditation, this practice offers a pathway to deeper understanding, serenity, and connection with the divine and the self. The stillness of the early hours amplifies this experience, making it a unique and invaluable part of one's daily rhythm. Journaling or creative reflection. The early morning hours between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. are a time of heightened mental clarity and emotional openness, making them ideal for engaging in journaling or creative reflection. In this quiet space, free from the demands of the day, the mind is particularly adept at exploring thoughts and emotions that often remain hidden during busier hours. Journaling during this time can serve as a powerful tool for self-expression, problem-solving, and personal growth, while creative reflection invites one to explore and articulate their inner world in unique and meaningful ways. Journaling, at its core, is a dialogue with oneself. It is a practice of capturing thoughts, feelings, and experiences on paper or in a digital format. The early hours amplify this process by providing an atmosphere of stillness and focus. Without the distractions of email notifications, phone calls, or social obligations, the mind is free to wander and explore its depths. This is the time when insights often surface spontaneously, moments of clarity about personal challenges, realizations about one's desires or fears, and ideas that may feel too fragile to emerge in the hustle of the day. One of the most effective ways to begin journaling during these hours is by practicing free writing. This method involves writing continuously without pausing to edit or censor thoughts. The idea is to let the words flow naturally, capturing whatever comes to mind without worrying about grammar, structure, or coherence. Free writing often uncovers hidden emotions or patterns of thought, offering a glimpse into the subconscious. For instance, you might start with a simple prompt, such as "What is on my mind right now?" or "How am I feeling in this moment?" From there, the writing takes on a life of its own, revealing connections and insights that might otherwise remain unspoken. Gratitude journaling is another powerful practice well suited to the early morning hours. This involves listing things for which you are grateful, whether they are profound or seemingly trivial. The act of focusing on gratitude can shift one's perspective, fostering a sense of contentment and abundance. In the early morning, when the mind is uncluttered and reflective, this practice can feel particularly grounding. Gratitude journaling helps to set a positive tone for the day, reminding you of the blessings in your life and cultivating a mindset of appreciation. Creative reflection takes journaling a step further, inviting imaginative expression and exploration. This might involve sketching, doodling, or writing poetry alongside traditional journaling. The early hours are particularly fertile for creativity, as the mind is still in a semi-dreamlike state, where logical constraints are loosened and inspiration flows more freely. For instance, you might explore a recurring dream through art or write a short story inspired by the emotions you felt upon waking. These creative acts not only provide an outlet for self-expression, but also deepen your connection to your inner world. Journaling during this time can also serve as a powerful tool for problem solving and goal setting. The early hours allow for undistracted focus, making it easier to break down complex challenges or articulate long-term aspirations. You might use this time to brainstorm solutions to a specific problem or to map out the steps needed to achieve a goal. The act of writing helps to clarify thoughts, transforming vague ideas into actionable plans. For example, a morning journaling session might involve reflecting on the question, "What is one thing I can do today to move closer to my goals?" The simplicity of this question, paired with the clarity of the early morning, can yield surprisingly effective answers. Beyond its practical benefits, journaling and creative reflection during these hours have a deeply therapeutic effect. Writing about emotions, whether they are joyful, sorrowful, or conflicted, provides a safe space for processing and understanding them. This practice can help to reduce stress, improve mood, and foster a greater sense of self-awareness. Research has shown that expressive writing has measurable benefits for mental health, including reduced anxiety and improved emotional regulation. When combined with the natural tranquility of the early morning, these benefits are magnified. Another significant aspect of morning journaling is the opportunity for self-discovery. This practice encourages you to ask deeper questions about who you are and what you want out of life. For example, you might explore prompts like "What brings me joy?" or "What does success mean to me over time?" These reflections build a richer understanding of your values, priorities, and aspirations. They also create a record of your journey, allowing you to look back and see how you've grown and evolved. For those who struggle to begin, setting a simple routine can help. Keep a notebook or journal by your bedside and dedicate even just 10 to 15 minutes each morning to writing. Start with a small prompt, like recounting a dream or describing how you feel upon waking. The key is consistency rather than perfection over time. This practice becomes a natural and invaluable part of your morning rhythm. The early morning hours are a gift for those seeking to connect with their inner selves. Journaling and creative reflection harness the unique qualities of this time, offering a space for clarity, inspiration, and healing. Whether you choose to write, draw, or simply reflect, this practice has the potential to transform your mornings into a sacred time for self-exploration and growth.